बाहर तो बच्चे नहीं आए साले अभी।
Dr. Naidu, can we start the proceeding? आप अनम्यूट हैं, म्यूट कर रखा है आप तो, मैंने अभी आप अनम्यूट करिए। हाँ,
Yes, sir. We
yeah,
can.
yeah,
We
yeah.
can.
So,
We can proceed.
so dear participants, very good afternoon. And again, we are with a new session in this 5-day FDP. Today we are along with us is Dr. N.K. Swami Naidu from IIT BHU. Dr. Naidu is a well-known researcher in the field of induction generators. I have his short bibliography note, so I just read it out. So, Dr. N.K. Swami Naidu is presently working as an assistant professor in electrical engineering department at IIT BHU Varanasi from May 2018. Dr. Naidu received his BTech from Raghu Engineering College, Vishakhapatnam, and later did his MTech from NIT Kurukshetra, Haryana. He obtained his PhD degree, he earned his PhD degree from IIT Delhi in 2015. He worked as a postdoctoral research fellow in Nanyang Technological University, NTU, Singapore, up to June 2007. Afterward, he worked in Rolls-Royce Corporate Lab, Singapore, as a research scientist up to May 2018. His research interests includes power electronics, wind energy conversion systems, electrical drives, power quality, microgrid-based power systems, and hybrid energy storage systems. He have a good number of quality publication in reputable international journals, and he have vast exposure to the field of research, and we are very happy to have him as our expert speaker today in the session. And as you can look out, it's on his first slide. His topic of discussion today is DFIZ for wind energy conversion system. So, on behalf of the Rajasthan Technical University Kota, I welcome you, Dr. Naidu, and would hand over the dais to you to present your lecture. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. And today it's good. I will say my whatever I experienced. That I have. This is my work I have done in during my PhD in IIT Delhi. Okay. Just okay, sir. Can I start? Proceed with the
Yes, you can start, sir. You can start.
Okay. Good afternoon, all. As already sir mentioned, this is the topic regarding doubly fed induction generator for wind energy conversion system. In this session, we want to see what is wind energy conversion systems and what are the advantages. In this, we will see different types of wind energy conversion systems that are possible. Later, we will start introducing what is DFIZ and then we will see what are the advantages of DFIC over other topologies, and what is the basic operation of DFIC. Then we go for the grid connected operation of DFIC. I think by this time maybe 1 hour will be over, and if time permits we will move to standalone, which is isolated operation of this DFIC without connecting to the grid. Okay. In this, as I mentioned, first we have to see what is wind energy conversion system. In this is the overall picture that representing the wind energy conversion systems. In this, we all know this is rotor blades. I think you can see my arrow. This is rotor blades, and this is the shaft. That is, due to this rotor blade, the shaft is rotating, and in between this rotor hub and rotor blades, there are some, again it's called pitch drive. It means by using this pitch drive, you can turn your rotor blades also. It's again some drive. Again, a motor will be used, small motors will be used to rotate that. And afterwards, its shaft, we already discussed. As these rotor blades are rotating very slow, and these are very huge structure, very big structure, and this will rotate very slow, and later to convert that into these low speeds into high speeds to bring frequency into our range, which may be easier to use or better to integrate to the grid. We normally use the gearbox. This is multi-stage gearbox normally we prefer, and afterwards that will be connected to our machine. This here comes our electrical terms, which is once you got this mechanical energy, then you can use different machines to convert this mechanical energy to electrical energy. Here we can use so many generators, options are there, and out of which here I have selected one, that is double-fed induction generator, which means wound rotor induction machines. But also we will see what are the other topologies that's possible. I think our topic of all these things, if you see, most of them are mechanical, but here our topic of interest starts from the machine. Input is mechanical, output is electrical. It's just opposite to the drive. Normally drives for motor. Here motor input is electrical, output is mechanical, but here input is mechanical and output is electrical. The main challenges, if you see, for this wind energy conversion systems, highly variable wind injected into the grid. It means if you take wind energy, we don't know when you will have high wind, when you will have low wind. Sometimes in the night you may have very high wind, and daytime you may not have wind at all. At that time, it means depends upon that the power generation will be there. So, but customers or the energy users or electricity users, they don't bother about all these things. They need power whenever they require. So there is some more source that can means match this. Maybe you need some energy storage or using some of the other renewable sources, solar or something you have to use. All this is the one issue. And the other issue is like if you are using more renewables into the grid, then the grid stability is the problem. That's one more. And the second one is like increased penetration of wind energy. That's the second problem. And the third problem is electrically weak distribution network. It means these are all very far end, and you will have so much reactive power burden and all these things. So you will have this electrically weak distribution network. And also the continuation to that, this is also heavy reactive power burden. Obviously, if you are using so many induction generators and all these things that too very far from the load centers, then you need reactive power. That's the other problem. So these are all different challenges in wind energy conversion systems. But if you see the wind turbine characteristics, these are normally the wind turbine characteristics. The x-axis is the wind speed or rotor speed, and y-axis is the power that is generated. It means these are the different curves for different wind speeds. It means if you have different wind speed, you will have different curve. The topmost curve, that which is 1.0 per unit wind speed, if I take here, everything we are discussing in per unit. If your wind speed is 1.0 per unit, then this is the curve. It means the top curve is telling for 1.0 per unit wind speed, and your rotor speed is at 0.8. Suppose if it is running at 0.8 per unit, then you may have the power of around here 0.9. But if your wind speed is if your rotor speed is 1.0 per unit, then your maybe the power that is producing is 1.0 per. It means if you change your rotor speed at a particular wind speed, if you change your rotor speed, then your the power that is generated also changes. And also, okay, I'm repeating again, for a particular wind speed, if you change the rotor speed, which is x-axis, you will have the power generated will also change. Okay, and also for a particular wind speed, there is one operating point where you will get the maximum power point. If your wind speed is 1.0 per unit, then it's better if you run your rotor at 1.0 per unit so that you will get the maximum power. Suppose if your wind speed is at 0.9 per unit, the second curve, then it's better if you run your machine at 0.9 per unit rotor speed so that you will get the maximum power. It means you have to run at different rotor speeds for achieving maximum power from the wind turbine. Okay, that's what we can conclude from the characteristics of our wind turbine. How we can run at different rotor speeds, that we will see later, depends upon this. Normally these wind turbines are divided into two parts. The first one is the variable speed wind turbine, the second one is fixed speed wind turbines. If you see, again I'm coming back to the wind turbine, coming back to the characteristics. Here, if you are always operating at a fixed speed, irrespective of your wind speed, that is called fixed speed operation. So if you are always operating at 1.0 per unit, then irrespective of the wind speed, maybe that is called your fixed speed operation. Something like in fixed speed, you are operating at only 1 point. Then the disadvantage, maybe you can understand what is the disadvantage. Again, I'm going back. The disadvantage is here you are not operating at maximum power points, so you are losing some energy out of it. Okay, here you are operating at 1.0 per unit. Suppose if your wind speed is 0.7 per unit, at that time this is the MPP. You are having around 0.3 per unit of power, but you are getting only 0.15 or something. You are getting the power here. It means you are losing some energy. This is not so efficient operation, or you are not getting the full. We are not able to extract the whatever the power available. That is the problem with the fixed speed wind turbines. In variable speed wind turbines, in somehow I will tell you how you can change the speed, but somehow if you can change the speed with your wind speed, then you will be able to achieve the maximum power. That's what here variable speed wind turbines. In this variable speed wind turbines, again there are two parts. The first one is in direct drive with a gearbox and direct drive gearless. Obviously, if you don't have gearless, I'm talking about the right hand side one, this is gearless. Here if you see gearless means, already I told you, if you don't have gear, you will run at slower speeds. Even if you run at slower speeds, sometimes it's not a problem, because if you can increase the number of poles, then you can get the desired frequency. If you see desired frequency F equal to Pn by 120. Yes, here if your speed n is reduced, but if you can increase the number of poles, I think in permanent magnet machines you have the what do you call, you have the flexibility to increase the number of poles, so you can operate them in the at lesser speeds. There you can eliminate the gear. Here coming to indirect drive, there you are using the gearbox and you are having, you can able to means you are just differentiating with respect to the machine used. The first one is wound rotor synchronous generator, the second one permanent magnet, the third one is squirrel cage induction generator, and DFIG, doubly fed induction generator. Actually, I am always telling doubly fed induction generator, but the name is doubly fed means both the times we are feeding, both the sides we are feeding. But this is nothing but I think we all know wound rotor induction machine. If we are using wound rotor induction machine, that is called doubly fed induction generator. Okay. In addition to this, I think this is a very old classification. Maybe nowadays people are using different types of machines. Maybe some people are using squirrel cage switch reluctance generator. Some people are using different machines nowadays. We have PMBLEC generators they are using, and also synchronous reluctance machines they are using. Different special machines we can use. Every machine has their own advantages and disadvantages in terms of the applications. Okay, these are all different. I think the classification of this wind energy conversion systems, we have classified depends upon the speed, we have classified depends upon the machine we have used, we have classified depends upon the gearbox we have used, all these classifications we have done. In this, the first one is fixed speed wind turbines we want to see. Just to understand variable speed better, I think it's better we can discuss a little bit about this fixed speed wind turbine. This fixed speed wind turbine, if you see the structure of this fixed speed wind turbine, this looks very easier, very simple. This is wind turbine, there is a gearbox, and later you have connected to the machine. Now this machine is running good. Later, what you have done is you have taken the stator to directly connect it to the grid. In between, you don't have any power electronics or anything. Just for the time being, you can neglect this stop starter and capacitor. Later, I will tell you what are the use of this. But if you see the structure is very simple. Directly, whatever the power generated, that was fed into the grid very easily. It means you don't have any power electronic converters to control and all this stuff. That's why this is very simple and very easier, and that's why even if you take so out of these installed wind turbines, I think even we have still 20% 30% of this type nature. These are installed very long back, but nowadays people are not installing, but still like whatever they have installed, still these are running very much fine, because they don't have anything to maintain, because this is squirrel cage machine. Here there is no need the frequent, you don't need any maintenance, and everything here you don't need any maintenance. So these are once you install it means that is generating, giving the power. But this is fixed speed. We know that disadvantage as well. This is running at fixed speed, so we are not able to achieve the full power up to its capacity, whatever the power that is available in wind turbine. Okay, if you see the operation, that is very easier, like try to run this machine little more than the synchronous speed, then this will enter into a generation mode and it will start giving power to the grid. That's easier. And apart from this, the problem, if you really see, that's like this is called induction machine. Induction machines need reactive power, obviously, to generate the power. Where it will come? That's coming from your grid. It is generating the active power to the grid, and it is taking some reactive power from the grid. That's the problem. So we try to keep these capacitors to supply the required reactive power to the machine. And soft starter means this is just, we know that this squirrel cage induction machine, directly if you connect to the grid, what will happen? This will initially, if you run this directly, if you connect that to the grid, the problem is maybe you may get very high inrush current. That is the problem. So you try to connect them slowly. So for that you need soft starter. Okay, but anyway, this looks very simple, and but the drawback is the efficiency is less, low wind energy conversion efficiency. And also the other problem is high mechanical stress on turbine components. Because here you try to run at always fixed speed, but that's not possible. For even variable wind speed, you try to run at fixed speed by using mechanical components. You try to change the pitch angle. I told there is a pitch. There is a pitch drive to change the rotor blades. By using that, you can change the pitch angle, and also by using the maybe some gearbox arrangement, you can change the speed. By using this mechanical way, you try to keep change the you try to keep the speed at a fixed value, and then you will have so much stress on the mechanical component. That's the problem. Now comes to the maximum power point tracking. It means like variable speed wind turbines. If you take variable speed wind turbines, you try to run at variable speeds for different wind speeds. It means you need to run at different rotor speeds for a particular wind speed. That's what you have to do. Here, even from the characteristics, we understood that for different wind speeds, you have to run at different rotor speeds. So, to understand, to run at different speeds, you should know what is the wind speed. If you know the wind speed, then you will understand the curve, then you will understand where the maximum power is, then you can run at that particular speed, something like it. So, you should know the input is the maximum wind speed you should know, and also the rotor speed you should know, because the feedback and the rotor characteristics and generator characteristics. Rotor characteristics means wind turbine characteristics you should know, because these wind turbine characteristics, I think if you are purchasing from different manufacturers, they will provide you what is the wind turbine characteristics. From there you will understand where to run your machine for a different wind speeds. Okay. I think this MPPT means, I think we got some idea that you have to run at different rotor speeds for different wind speeds. That's what we have to remember. If you see that the same thing, maybe I'm representing pictorially. This is the wind speed that we are giving, and this is the lookup table. From this wind speed, it will tell you from the lookup table at what rotor speed it has to run for a particular wind speed. And then you try to apply the different control algorithms to run your machine at a particular rotor speed to achieve the maximum power point. You are achieving the maximum power point by changing the rotor speed. But if you talk about the solar, there I think you will get the MPPT by changing the voltage. But here you will get the MPPT by changing your rotor speed. Okay, now here comes our variable speed wind turbines. In this variable speed wind turbines, if you see the thing is, in fixed speed wind turbines, the stator we have directly connected to the grid without having any power electronic converters. But here we are having two converters which are connected, which are back-to-back converters. Here you will get the AC to DC and then back to from DC to AC. If you see here, the thing is like if you are running at variable speeds, you should understand that we are running at different rotor speeds. So the voltage or the power generated is at different frequencies, variable frequency, obviously. If you are running at a particular speed, then you will have particular frequency. Yes. So variable speed means variable frequency, and also you will have variable voltage and variable frequency that was generated from your induction generator, and you have to convert that into fixed voltage, fixed frequency, so that you can feed to the grid. For doing that, here we are connecting to back-to-back converters. We are converting from variable voltage, variable frequency into a DC, and then from DC to fixed voltage, fixed frequency to feed to the grid. Yes, that's why here you need two converters for this variable speed wind turbines. These are all called full power converters, because whatever the power that is generated from your induction machine, that has to pass through these two converters. So these two converters will have the same rating as your machine. Whatever the power you are generating, each converter should have that much of power rating. So that's the problem here. Suppose if you have taken wind turbine of suppose nowadays we can see the wind turbines which are I think I have old data that were I seen at 2015 or something like this. There I have seen around 10 megawatt wind turbine, single piece wind turbine that we have seen. It means that were installed by some other company. I think Vestas or someone has installed it. It means some 10 megawatt wind turbine. It's like huge. It's a huge machine. And the 10 megawatt wind turbine that was again back-to-back converters. Yes, this converter should be of same rate. This converter is also should be able to transfer 10 megawatt power to this. Okay, that's like the converter ratings is also very high. Now, okay, sorry, I forgot. Even in this, this is an induction machine, so it needs reactive power. So, in addition to the active power, it has to traverse through this, and it should be able to capable to give the required reactive power to your machine from the machine side converter, the converter which is near to machine. Okay, so the converter ratings are selected to meet both active and reactive power requirements. Okay, if you see here, this is an wind energy conversion system with PMSG, which is permanent magnet synchronous generator. In this, it's like exactly the same before, like induction generator, but the thing is, permanent magnet means you don't need any reactive power. So the converter which is near to your machine that need not supply the reactive power to your machine. That's the good thing. Sorry. But here, if you see, like I have given shown explicitly to understand this is rather than wind turbine, I have shown a DC machine and type A chopper because it's sometimes if you are doing something in your laboratory, maybe we may not have wind turbine at some places. Maybe at that time you can emulate the wind turbine characteristics. You can emulate this wind turbine characteristics from this type A chopper and DC machine. That's the good thing. And rather than afterwards you sense different things and you will give to this processor, disk-based processor, and that will be able to control both the converters, machine side and grid side converters. Okay. Now here comes the topic of interest, which is doubly fed induction generator. In this doubly fed induction generator, if you clearly see the difference between the previous topology and this topology, the converters are connected in rotor side. But in the previous one, if you PMSG or DFS, PMSG or SCI, squirrel cage induction generator, these converters are connected in series with the stator. So all the power has to flow through these converters. But in this, the converters are connected in rotor side, and the stator was directly connected to the grid. Maybe this transformer for meeting some very isolate and also to give you different step up and step down the voltage, something like this, because if this voltage is high, maybe you can step down and step down. I will tell you about the transformer. If you forget the transformer, the stator was directly connected to the grid. So if we really see the advantage of this as compared to before, suppose if your converter is, the power generated is 1 per unit, the converter rating should be 1 per unit and 1 per around. But here, if you see, these converters are connected in rotor side, so the converter rating is slip times the power generated. Here, the slip is normally the selected slip in DFIC cases plus or minus 0.3. Plus or minus 0.3. It means maybe if you take in per unit, maybe you can operate between 1.7 per unit to 1.3 per unit speed. It means 1.3 per unit means minus 0.3 slip, and 1.7 means plus 0.3 slip. So plus or minus 0.3 slip is operating. So if your slip is plus or minus 0.3, then your converter ratings, maybe we can imagine that should be only 0.3 per unit. If your power is 1 per unit, This is slip times the power in the rotor. We know that S times air gap power. So this will be 0.3 only. The power rating is 0.3 for this raw machine side converter and 0.3 per unit for your grid side converter. So your converter ratings are reduced. That's the advantage of this. The another advantage, suppose if your stator side voltage is 400 volts, then your rotor side voltage is only slip times your voltage, which is 0.3. It means 400 into 0.3, it is only 120 volts. If you assume the stator voltage 400 volts, rotor voltage is again 120 volts. That too, there may be sometimes you will have stator to rotor turns ratio as well in some of the machines, like 2:1 or something. So you will further down, it may be further down. At that time, that's also very less. That's also one more good. It means you will have the problem of this reverse recovery voltages, and also you will have the breakdown voltage is the main issue for the any of the IGBT and all these things. So it's better if you are operating at very less voltage. So that's also one more advantage. You are operating at less voltage, these converters. Okay, maybe how it will operate, that's another story. We will see later how exactly it is operating, even to that was in rotor side. How you are, if you really see this, the speed is variable. Here the rotor, the variable wind turbine, the speed is variable. Still your stator side, the voltage that is generated is that was connected to grid. So here the frequency and voltage of this stator is fixed. 400, suppose if you are connecting to 400 volts 50 Hz grid, maybe 400 volts 50 Hz is your stator side. But here this is the variable speed, and accordingly now you have to control the rotor side. You have to operate, everything will be in slip. Even the frequency also, if you see the rotor currents, the currents and voltages are also in slip times frequency. So everything, we have to control differently. That's one thing. We will see how the operation will be. It's another issue. Before that, if you see, I told you the variable speed range is 70% to 130% only. Why? Because if you really see this, the power is proportional to speed cube in wind turbine. P is proportional to speed cube. So here if your speed is 0.7, then 0.7 whole cube is 0.7 into 0.7 into 0.7, which is 0.343. 0.343 is the power for the speed of 0.7. And one more thing, like if your speed is 1.3 per unit, then your power will be 1.3 into 1.3 into 1.3, I think 2 per unit. It means your power is varying range from 0.3 to around 2 per unit. If you bring down the 2 per unit to further assume it as a 1 per unit, then your lower portion will come from 0.3 to 0.15. It means you are almost getting the power between 0.15 per unit to 2 per unit power, depends upon your speed, from the range between 0.7 to 1.3 per unit. It means you are getting the whole power even only in the small range of your speed. It means the speed you need not come down to very less. Suppose if you are coming down to very less, rather than 0.7, if you tell I want to come to 0.5 per unit, it means half of the speed. Then the problem arises is that you have to increase the converter rating. But there is no use, because you are already getting the power, the required power in this speed range only. So if you increase the speed range, then your converter slip will increase. If slip increases, the rotor power will increase, because your rotor power is slip times your air gap power. If that increases, your converter ratings will be increased. That's needless. So it's better if you operate. That's why the people have selected the range as between 70% to 130% speed. Okay, I think this is regarding the what is the advantage of this. I think the same thing maybe we have already discussed. These are some of the practical DFIG systems that are there, I think. GE 1.5 megawatt doubly fed induction generators in Canada, and also first offshore wind farm in UK. It's again DFIG that was manufactured is Vestas. Vestas is the company that major manufacturer of this DFIG technology. This one is our doubly fed induction generator. Here the stator was directly connected to the grid. The stator, this is the stator was directly connected to the grid. Here you have two converters which are via the nomenclature we are given GSC means grid side converter. The another converter is RSC rotor side converter, which is near to the rotor of the machine. GSC is near to the grid. Okay, if you see the transformer here, why it is required here? Because here the voltage, if you see, suppose if I assume from my practical DFIG that was just in our laboratory, which is here the voltage we have selected 400 volts. The 400 volts we are given to the grid. At that time, your stator, your slip is around 30%. So the voltage that is coming to your rotor is 120 volts. So from this 120 volts, if you are converting back here, and there is here the problem here is from 120 volts to this 400 volts. Again, if you want to connect back this loop to again to the stator, it's better if you use some transformer, because here the voltage is 400 volts, here the voltage is 120 volts. That's one thing. Another thing is something like this. Suppose if I assume this voltage, there is no transformer. Here I have the voltage is 400 volts. Then if you have grid side converter, then the DC link voltage should be more than the rating, more than the your peak of your voltage, that is the line voltage. Then if you take here the peak is 560, so if the DC link voltage is more than that, you should keep it around 650 volts. If you give the 650 volts to your rotor, even though this is 650 volts, you have to give 120 volts to the rotor. The problem here is in the all the converters, what you will do, if you want to get 120 volts, what you will do from 650 volts DC link, here we have to apply 650 volts for lesser time. Yes, we are doing everything in pulse width modulation. Here we don't have two sources like 650, 240, 120. We don't have two like this. We have one source which is 650 volts. If you want to get less voltage at the output AC side, then you have to apply this for lesser time, but still you are applying 650 volts. If you are applying 650 volts across your rotor, then the rotor may create some problem, the insulation problems also. So it's better if you reduce this voltage from 400 volts to 120 volts, something like this, by using this transformer. Then it will be, the rotor will be safer. So it's better if you use the transformer. That's the use of the transformer here. Okay, this is the complete diagram which shows doubly fed induction generator. The machine is here. I am telling this is wound rotor induction machine. You have both stator and rotors, both are available. Here we are telling doubly fed. It means you are feeding the power in both from the stator as well as the rotor. So this is doubly fed induction generator. The main principle of origin operation, if you see, the frequency of the grid voltage is always constant. We need not say, like we are all know, grid voltage frequency will be obviously constant. So the stator frequency is also constant, because your grid voltage is directly given to your stator, so this was constant. By using the converters to control the rotor currents, it is possible to adjust the active and reactive power fed to the grid from the stator independently of the generator turning speed. What it is telling, if you see here, you can convert the active, you can adjust the active and reactive power that was generated from the stator by changing the rotor currents. By controlling your rotor currents, you can control the active and reactive power that was generated from your stator power. Stator power means obviously the grid power. Maybe there may be one more small portion, but we can tell if you increase stator power, the grid power will increase. So what it is telling, we can control the stator and stator active and reactive powers by controlling the rotor active and reactive powers, rotor currents. We will see that, I think, later. Some maybe I will show you some expression that how you can control the stator active and reactive powers from the rotor currents. But one more thing, like if you are controlling how you are controlling the speed and everything, that also we will discuss later. One more thing that maybe I forgot here, that your stator was directly connected to the grid. If you are not giving any reactive power from the rotor side by using this rotor side converter, the required reactive power for the machine will be taken from the grid. Suppose if you are start giving the reactive power from your rotor side converter, then it won't take any reactive power from the grid. Otherwise, it will start drawing the reactive power from the grid. Yes. Okay. So your RSC, the main purpose of this RSC is to give the reactive power first thing. The second one is to change the speed and for achieving the MPPT. How you can change the speed? If you see that the speed may be varied by varying your active and reactive power. Sorry, not reactive power, active power. Here I told you by varying your rotor currents, you can vary your active and reactive power. Suppose by varying some of the components of your rotor current, you can vary the active power. If you can change the active power or if you can control the active power, you know that for the machine, there is a mechanical input, there is an electrical output. If your mechanical input is more than your electrical output, what will happen? The speed will increase. Yes, if you are giving more input, mechanical input, but you are generating less electrical power, where the remaining power will go. It will try to increase the speed. The speed will shoot up. So the speed will be increased and decreased by changing the electrical output power or electrical active power. Okay, you can change the speed by changing the torque. Yes, or otherwise by changing the active power, we can change it. That's what we do. In speed control, we will do by changing the torque of the machine. Okay. So this rotor side converter is responsible for the MPPT. By changing the active power, it will change the speed. By changing the speed, it will change the MPPT. That's what it is doing. And also it is supplying the reactive power. Coming to the grid side converter, maybe whatever the power that is coming from your rotor side converter, maybe it will be working like a buffer to give the power to your grid. That's what it is doing, your grid side converter. Okay. If you see this, I think the same thing maybe I have written, like it is rotor side converter, if you see, responsible for MPPT, and also it can control the active and reactive power flow. Okay. Here grid side converter is to maintain the DC link voltage and also UPF operation. That's what I have discussed like before, how you can control the active and reactive power by controlling rotor currents. Here everything we are doing in terms of DQ components. DQ means direct and quadrature axis components, or we can call it as two quadrant, rather than doing in three phases, we will do in two phases. It means like by doing the path transformation, we will do it, because in three phases, if you see the angle between that is 120 degrees. So if you have in three phases, if some current is flowing in A phase, that will affect your B phase. Again, there will be some mutual induced EMF and there is mutual flux and everything will be there. It's it's not completely decoupled. If you start writing the modeling equation for an induction machine in three phase, I think previously you may have studied as well. That's very complicated. Suppose if you do the same thing in DQ, then you can do both the things very independently, and also you can control both active and reactive powers independently. Everything will be looking very easier if you do it in DQ frame. So the most of the controls, either vector control, direct torque control, anything, you will do it in DQ frame rather than doing in ABC frame. Okay, this is the flux in DQ, D axis, LS axis plus LM IDRs, the flux in Q axis Ls IQs plus Ln IQr. We know that the power, active power, if you write it in voltage currents in dq, 3 by 20 VDS IDS plus VQS IQs. US is 3 by 2 VQS IDS minus VGS IDS. This is active power and reactive power equations for the stator. Then if you are doing voltage oriented frame, then your VQS will be 0. Then you start substituting this VQS 0 on the above equation. Then if you see the active power that is generated from your stator, PS is proportional to your IDR. The QS reactive power is proportional to your IQR. It means if you control your IDR, it means rotor current, D-axis current, then you can control the active power. If you control your rotor Q-axis current, then you can control the reactive power. Something like this. It means by controlling IDR and IQR, you can control the active and reactive powers. Okay, that's what good thing here. Now see the complete control scheme. Here IDR and IQR. Here we know that rotor side converter is responsible for MPPT. Maybe here we are giving the MPPT, how much is the speed it should run. The speed controller will be there here. From the speed controller there is an IDR, which is again power. Okay, IQR is the reactive component. From there you can control the rotor side converter. For the stator side converter, grid side converter, this grid side converter may be a control to maintain the DC link voltage. This is to maintain the DC link voltage. If you see here, this is hardware. In hardware, we try to see the try to control the DC machine with a chopper, simple type of chopper to emulate the wind turbine characteristics. If I give the wind speed, even if you see DC machine, it's very easy to control the torque. The torque is proportional to phi Ia. Your flux is constant because your this is field was separated and this is separately excited. Field was kept constant. By controlling your armature current, you can control the torque. So the torque from the wind turbine torque speed characteristic, you will get the torque, how much is the torque that is required. From the torque, you will calculate how much is the required armature current, and you can control. By controlling this current, you can control the torque. So you will try to fit your wind turbine torque speed characteristics into your DC machine by using this current control. Okay, these are some of the simulation results that I will show you the hardware results as well. If you have some wind speed which is around 8, then the power that is generated is around 2 kilowatt. But if you see the stator, grid currents, everything, these are at some frequency. But if you see the rotor currents, these are at different frequency because your rotor currents are slip times your gap, slip times frequency of normal stator frequency. And this is at another speed, which is 9.2 meters per second. 9.2 meters per second wind speed. There your speed is exactly at 1 per unit. Your speed is, if you see here, the speed running is around 0.9 per unit. If your wind speed has increased, it has to run at different rotor speed for getting MPPT. It is running at 1 per unit exactly. So your rotor currents, if you see here, these are DC because your slip is 0, so your frequency is 0, so you are getting the DC currents in your rotor. And here the power is also increasing from previously it is 2 kilowatt, now it has increased to 2.5 kilowatt, something like this. Now if you have increased from your wind speed from 9 to 10.5 or something like this 11, then your rotor speed is increased because for achieving MPPT. Now the power that is feeding to the grid is around 4 kilowatt. This is the hardware that was developed there, like in IIT Delhi, that I have developed there. This is the DC machine. DFIG means this is the wound rotor induction machine, and the encoder that to get the speed output, speed feedback. And these are the two converters, which is rotor side converter and grid side converters. And these are all some sensors. I think around 12 to 15 sensors we have used for sensing different stator voltage, stator current, grid voltage, grid current, everything. And later, with the combination of this DC machine and chopper, we try to emulate the wind turbine characteristics. and this is the D space that we have used to control this everything. These are all different inductors. Maybe if you see these are looking bigger, but these are you will get different value of inductances in this. This is multi-purpose because different people will need different inductance. So in laboratory we try to prepare like that. Okay. After this power is generated, that was fed to the grid using this auto transformer into the grid. These are all some hardware results. I think I'll try to wind up. I think the around time is about finished. This is the speed different results at 10.8 meters per wind speed and running at 1774 rpm, and the speed, the power that is feeding to the grid is 3.08 kilowatt. This is at 9.2 meters per second, and if you see the power that is feeding to the grid is 1.73 kilowatt. This one is around these are all dynamic characteristics. There, we try to increase the wind speed. This was captured in digital storage oscilloscope. If you try to increase the wind speed, at that time the rotor speed has to increase for achieving MPPT. I think I am repeating every time. Like the rotor speed, the reference rotor speed has increased, and by using the speed controller, it tried to pick up the same speed. This is the actual speed, and by that the power that is feeding to the grid, I think this is PG, that was increasing with the increase in your wind speed. Automatically that is increasing, and the reactive power that is feeding to the grid is 0. We try to maintain it at the same value. Okay, and these are all different. Previously I shown the powers, but now if you see, these are all currents. This is stator current, this is converter currents, and this is grid current. Grid current is increasing. If you see the rotor current is changing its phase sequence. Previously the slip is positive, now the slip has become negative. At that time the phase sequence has increased. Previously ABC phase sequence, now it will be it may be BAC or something. The phase sequence has been changed, so it is changing its phase sequence. And the frequency is also changing, if you see, because as the speed changes, the frequency of your rotor also changes. The current, these are all rotor currents. I think with this I will end. This is standalone is there, but I think it's the best time to, I think we can have discussion rather than go on speaking. Anything, I will end here. If anybody have any questions, maybe it's better. Okay, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Naidu. It
Welcome,
was
sir.
really a wonderful hands-on experience, I think, in which you have detailed out us some very minute things in the DFIG and especially to the rotor side, converter side control strategies and some practical pictorial examples. So I ask candidates if they have any participants, if they have any query, they may write it down in the chat box or they may ask directly by unmuting themselves to Dr. Naidu itself. If you have any question, you may write it down in your chat box.
Good afternoon, sir. Viren Sharma.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Sir, I want to ask one question in 14 slide. In 14 number slide, please.
Okay. So.
DFIG.
Yes, sir. This is 14, I think.
No, sir, this is 20, sir. Sir, I want 14, 14, sir.
I think
right, sir. Right. Yeah, right. Sir, I want to know what is the criteria for selection of DFIG rating as per the wind turbine generation?
Sir, actually, at first of all, we have to select what is the cutout speed. At that speed, what is the wind speed? What is the what is the cutoff mean speed we should know. From there we will understand what is the maximum power that is available. From there we will understand how much will be the power that will be transferred into our shaft. We will understand by using some, I think there is some bridge coefficient or something it is there. The maximum electric mechanical output that we are getting at the shaft, we have to calculate. Once you got that, from there by considering the some losses and everything, I think we can select our wound rotor induction machine, the rating we can select.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As you seen, as the DFIG stator is directly connected to the transformer. So how we select the rating of transformer in respect of rotor side converter and stator rating?
So actually, this one is whatever the power that is generated, we know that from there we normally try to assume that the reactive power is zero, because we don't want to take reactive power from the grid, or sometimes maybe we may, if necessary, then maybe we will give some reactive power from your grid side converter. But we should know how much is the maximum reactive power we have to give. After knowing the reactive power and after knowing the active power that is generated from our stator, then we will understand what is the kVA rating of our transformer. And from there, anyway, the voltage we know, and by there we can select how much is that kVA rating of our transformer.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. As much this is the AC side and stator side is the synchronized frequency is constant. Right.
Yes, sir.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Dr. Naidu, there are some questions by participants in the chat box. Can you answer them? There are the 2 or 3 questions. Yeah.
Sure. Is there any software available in which we can do directly 3-phase to PQ, 2-phase conversion? Software DQ, I think there is no need of separate software. I think there is small equations are there. We can write it any of the software we can write. I think if you take MATLAB, there is ABC to DQ transformation block is there directly. Or otherwise, mostly we can write it very easily. Maybe cos theta minus 2 pi by 3 or sin theta minus 2 pi by 3 by using those formulas. We can write it easily. Or otherwise in MATLAB that is there. Directly block is there to the inputs are ABC and we have to give theta. From there it will convert into ABC to DQ. There is a block. Otherwise also we can write it very easy. It's better, it's preferable to write ourselves rather than taking the block, because if you take different people have done it in different ways. There's so much confusion in ABC to DQ, because some people have taken DQ, some people have taken QD. If you take Peter Voss, there is different notation. If you take I think BK Bose, they follow some other notation. So it's better you should follow only one book and equations also from the same book. Otherwise maybe those equations may be different what they in the MATLAB also. So it's better if we write ourselves rather than taking from any of the reference. That's the first question. The second question is, how do you measure the stator side power shown in DSO? Yes, this is very good question. Actually, this one we don't measure. We can't do it in DSO. The power measurement is there, but the thing is, I have not done using DSO, but I have done it in. Anyway, there is a power controller inside, so I know voltages and currents. So inside of my processor, DSpace processor, I know what is the power. Then by using digital to analog converters, there is a inside digital power will be converted. I think 10 divided by 10, you will get it as an output in your digital to analog converter. That one I have given to the oscilloscope. There you know what is the conversion that you are suppressing. Later in your oscilloscope, you can again multiply with the same thing. Then you can see it like a power. Basically, I have used digital to analog converter to give from my processor to even some of the voltages. If I don't have some of the voltage sensors and current sensors at that time while doing, even voltages and currents also, I have used voltage sensor, current sensor, and voltage probes are not there. So from inside I have digital signal processor. Inside digital signal processor, I have all the measured quantities by using these LEM sensors and different sensors. I brought outside by using this digital to analog converter, and I have noted down the results uh, in my oscilloscope by using DAC, digital to analog converter. I think the maybe I have answered your question, but anything doubt still you can ask. Is the generator selection criteria different for standalone and grid connected wells? No, it depends upon how much is the power we want to use. The control will be different, but the control will be different because in grid connection, the voltage and frequency are fixed. So you need not control the voltage and frequency. You have to control the current. If you current the control, the power will be changed. But in a standalone case, you have to maintain your voltage. You have to maintain the controller will be voltage control. In standalone, mostly the controller will be voltage control. But in grid connected case, your controllers will be a current control because your voltage is fixed. So your controller will be different, but the selection will be same machine you can use for grid connection and standalone because the machine depends upon the power rating. Because your wind turbine is from the wind turbine, you can select that easily. I think I have answered these questions. If anything more, please.
If anything that more to be asked, you can unmute yourself and ask it directly. I think, yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. I Dr. Bharat Bhushan Jain.
Hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Sir, I have a small question. What is the efficiency concerned site selection is affected or not? If I want to take a DFIG wind energy conversion system, so there is any specific rating issue regarding the efficiency, or we can select any size of the DFIG system?
No, efficiency will be mattered. Efficiency will be mattered because we know that what is the if something was written in nameplate means what it exactly implies. Because if something was written on the nameplate of your machine, maybe voltage, current, everything, the mechanical, the electrical output he may have mentioned. But mechanical side, if you are using some other power, maybe you have to consider the efficiency also. But because you may be running at higher speed or higher everything, you have to consider the efficiency, obviously, some of the cases.
What is the minimum rating of DFIG system for the greater efficiency I have to select? If there is, or I can select any type of any rating of the machine.
No, the thing is here we have to first of all we should understand that this is any rating we can't select randomly. That is the main problem with any of the system, wind energy conversion systems, because if you keep our wind turbine at lesser heights, you will have less power. If you keep your wind turbines at your very higher, if you go higher, there will be more wind speed, then you will get more power, something like this. So before that, first of all, we should know what is the wind potential. That's why we are not able to use wind turbines in all over India. There are only some coastal areas where we are using the wind turbines, because all areas are not feasible to use these wind turbines. So we should know how much is the wind potential. From there, what is the feasible, like what is the existing wind turbines that are there. From there we can decide. It depends upon maybe the wind turbine. We have to select the generator at what height you are keeping your wind turbine.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think no query more are left over. So thank you, thank you, Dr. Naidu, for such a detailed discussion and detailed explanation to the things. I think most of the participant here could now understand the DFIG in a better manner with respect to the control strategies and deployment and etc. So I thank you, Dr. Naidu. It's a wonderful to have you and over there, and hopefully we will see sometime else with your expertise over there. Okay, thank you,
Yes,
thank you. So
thank you, sir. Thank you for inviting me. Even thank you for all of it. Thank you.
So, dear participant, our next session, as usual, we will be having from 4 o'clock. Till then, we can dejoin and can again rejoin right at 4 p.m. Sorry. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, sir. I'm leaving.